Calvary kids, welcome back to Storytime, where we move through the Bible. Last week, we saw how Saul became Israel's first king. But we found out that God was not pleased with Saul's disobedience. This week, we are going to see who God selected to be the next king of Israel. We will hear one of the most famous stories in the Old Testament part of the Bible, my son's all-time favorite Bible story. You might know it. It involves a giant and a slingshot. All right, I don't want to give any more away. Let's dive in. Find a comfy spot where you can move around and go. Great. Now we need to find our telescope. We look one way and then we look the other way. There's our telescope. We adjust. Do you know who the person in the image is? It's David as a boy. Here we go. We skid a little bit as we slide into the story. We made it. We look around. You're standing on a dirt road and we see a sign. Make a square shape with your arms like a sign. And it says Bethlehem. We know Bethlehem. It's where Jesus was born. But this isn't Jesus' time yet. This is many years before then. An older man brushes past and we lean sideways out of the way. We know him. That's Samuel, Israel's judge. We follow Samuel and he's doing a sacrifice with a number of the elders in the town. Samuel approaches a man named Jesse and his sons. We see a turtle walking by and we decide to pretend to be a turtle so we can blend in. Come down to a seated position. Spread your legs out wide and then you slide your little turtle flippers under your legs and lean forward. Samuel is looking at one of Jesse's biggest sons. Samuel asks God, "God, is this the man you want to be king after Saul?" But the Lord says to Samuel,
"Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart."
One by one, Jesse's sons approached Samuel, but God had not chosen them either. Some were big, stretch up really high, and some were less big, come down medium low. Samuel asked, "Do you have any more sons?" And Jesse said, "My youngest son, David, is in the field taking care of the sheep." David is little. We shrink back down onto our heels. God tells Samuel,
"He's the one."
Samuel anoints David, which means he pours oil on David's head. And that it says that he's chosen to be the king. Well, that's a little weird. I'm not sure how I'd react if someone poured oil on my head. We move our hands around our head. It may be weird for us, but back in these times, that is how Samuel showed that the Lord was with David and that he was going to be the king. We see Samuel leave, and now we have to fast forward in the Bible to a very famous story. Let's come back down and pretend to be a turtle. Don't forget your little flippers. Move your flippers. Flap, flap, flap. And here we are. There are tents, and Saul's army is gathered. Step 1 foot back and gather your fists. The Philistine army is ready to fight Israel. There, up ahead with the Philistines, is the biggest man we have ever seen. It is Goliath. We stretch our hands out wide and we make ourselves as big as possible as the giant man shouts, "Send me your best man and we'll fight one-on-one." We look at the Israelite army and they look scared. Do your best scared face. We flail our arms and legs and we spin around doing our panicked look. No one wants to fight a giant. We see David carrying food for his brothers who are in the army. David stops and turns to look at the giant. He doesn't look scared. Why isn't he scared? That man is gigantic and terrifying. David approaches King Saul and says, "I'll fight him. The Lord will be with me." He wasn't scared because he trusted God. Saul gave David armor. We put on pretend armor. Oh, but it is too heavy and we slump down. We try to take a couple steps. David gives back the armor and goes down to a stream. We surf down the side of the hill to the stream. We see him grab 5 smooth stones and a slingshot. He heads towards Goliath. Everyone around gasps. Goliath sees David and makes fun of him. Step 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. We're going to practice this one time. Reach both hands forward like you are the sling, and then stretch the sling back and let go. Okay, this time it's for pretend real. David puts a rock in his sling, reaching both hands forward. He says, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of God, and God always wins his battles." We reach backwards, and then David lets the rock go and it flies in the air and hits Goliath. We reach ourselves up big and tall like Goliath. Bonk. And then we fall to the ground just like Goliath. The Israelites won the battle. The Philistines run away. Let's head back. Come sit with your legs straight out and hang on to your big toes and lean forward. Thanks for helping me tell the story today. We saw how God chose the next king, the youngest of Jesse's sons, David. And we saw David defeat Goliath with a rock, showing the world that God is powerful. David was the hero in our story. Remember that Jesus, the greatest hero of the world, comes from the family of David many years later. When other people looked at Goliath, they were so afraid they couldn't see Goliath's weaknesses. But David, with strength that came from his faith in God, saw a big target that he could easily hit with a rock. The Lord had promised that he would be with David, and he was. Our memory verse this unit echoes this sentiment. The Lord will keep all of his promises. He is faithful in everything he does. That's Psalm 145, verse 13. That's it for today.